Welcome back. Moving on, we're joined by Mr. Adijiji Doherty, who is a former PDP acting Southwest Zonal Vice Chairman. Thank you for coming on today.
Thank you very much. Good morning.
Let's start off where we also did start with the previous guest on security.
Yes.
That was the major reason INEC gave for rescheduling the elections. From what you've seen now, are we on course? Will there be any reason whatsoever about security why the elections perhaps, or why those in the Northeast should not come out on March 28th and April 11th to vote?
Well, thank you very much, Chamberlain. It's very important that we understand what is going on. A lot of Nigerians don't understand what's going on. Nigeria is at war. We're not talking ragtag like the other guest said. When you hear suicide bombers, is that ragtag? Can you term that as ragtag? We have about 4 states that are at war. If you go on YouTube, you see serious bombardments happening. Now, I had a few of the last guest discussion concerning the president being aloof. What do you call war? When you're killing, when you have the right, you have an army that can kill people, that is licensed to kill. But you have to kill under the international guidance. Mr. President sent the army out. Go and get Boko Haram. This was about 2-3 years ago. First of all, we had all this talk about bloodshed and things. That we put to the side. Later on, it started manifesting. And we looked at it that this is reality. What isn't Nigerian has been brought into Nigeria. Okay, how do we handle this? He sent the army out. The army started killing people. The Boko Haram started killing the army, slaughtering them. I mean, my sister-in-law lived in Jos. She said that the army will be patrolling around and the Boko Haram will be in the trees and they'll be shooting at the army. Now, later on, if you noticed, the international community started bringing up cases of human rights, of engagement of war illegally, killing people discriminately.
Okay.
So that is where, please, just let me land. That is the reason why Mr. President had to slow down. He had to now involve the African unity, the African force. That African force now has the mandate to do whatever it wants to do to cleanse Boko Haram.
Let me bring in this point because there are those who, while some commend what is going on with the military, their onslaught against insurgents in the Northeast, others think, why did it have to take us 6 years to be this decisive?
Let me explain something. It is something that has to go step by step. When you sent out your military and your military are killing the Boko Haram, you understand. Now, what are you fighting with? First of all, it was a faceless set of people. You understand? Later, it was like, okay, we want to negotiate. Then we saw about 5 different groups coming out for negotiation. No one knew which one was which. At the end of the day, everybody went back to the trenches again. They now came up, and then the suicide bombing started. Now, how do you cope? America hasn't been able to cope with it. Britain has not been able to cope with it. Israel, ISIS has taken over in Israel, has engaged them in war.
I think we should be very careful here when we draw similarities. It doesn't look tidy when you say America hasn't been able to cope with it because we are talking about 2 different scenarios. We have insurgents right here and unleashing mayhem and for a couple of years now. And for so many other watchers, they saying, well, we acted pretty late.
Let me explain something, okay? We all agree that what is not accustomed to you, you'll first play it down like this is really not happening.
No, the
You
number.
understand?
No. The number we couldn't have used the word play down because the number of lives lost so far
Yes.
is unprecedented on the continent.
Listen.
So if we're getting to see people killed in that number, and we using the excuse of saying we're trying to play it down or trying to get arms and ammunition,
Suleiman,
it really doesn't sound well.
Insurgency has turned to terrorism. Terrorism has turned to suicide bombing. You understand? It is just like a baby that is being born. You understand? It develops into an adult. You don't know where it's going to lead. What you have in Syria is something that started from things like this. You understand? And that is the reason why the African force is in Nigeria now to see that this thing is held back and no one goes to The Hague. You understand? If you start killing, that was what the army was doing. That was what the army was doing. They were hitting the Boko Haram heavily. But at the end of the day, they were being chastised for it.
I don't know, would you say that the PDP-led government also misread the signs? Would you look and say that there were mistakes in diagnosing exactly what was wrong?
Definitely.
Because we did start as suicide bombing. Initially, it was denial. Remember the police, the police headquarters bombing, and how that started before we saw what's happening was the UN, and then there were pockets of suicide bombings here and there. But what we saw, it was accusations, counter accusations. Oh, we're not sure they're Nigerians. No, they cannot be Nigerians. Or it's a section of the North sponsoring this, and there were all of this going on. And then it grew into just a moment.
Yeah.
It grew into this group finally becoming stronger and taking territories. Did we misread the signs?
Malpe, I can't talk for the military, but I can talk for myself. You understand? I can't talk for PDP, but I can talk for myself. You understand? I will tell you this, right? When this thing started, we all were looking at it. I was looking at it like, this is not Nigerian, Maybe it's like what is happening in Niger Delta. You understand? Maybe they're fighting for money.
It's excusable. It's excusable for you,
Yeah.
but not excusable for the nation, where we have a DMI, where we have intelligence officers who should have been able to tell us exactly who these people were.
Let me explain this, right? Everybody knew that these people, some of them came from outside the country. Some of them also were extremists. You understand? So there was a link. And studying the whole thing, you understand, as the Nigerian army was studying it, things were happening. You understand? But as a civilian, I'm not too equipped to say this is what they saw or this is what they didn't see.
But from news coming up, because we have been following this, and I'm so excited that we're still very much here to talk about it.
Yeah.
We have seen series of arrests, series of moves by especially the DSS, a couple of people arrested, some went to court, and so many other issues that were being followed also by the military and even the police. Would you say we had a synergy then from all of these agencies to have, I don't know, because the way and manner it's been handled, now we're saying fantastic job, well done to the military in a couple of days, but you really can't give some kind of excuse for what they have done before they made this fantastic move. Was there any kind of synergy from what you observed as a civilian?
Suleiman, the issue of security, the issue of insurgency, issue of suicide attacks, issue of terrorism is a specialty. Nigeria wasn't ready for that kind of warfare. You understand? And they have to develop themselves to get ready for that. Just like, look at the Israelis. Is the Israelis introduced the Beretta, which is a special kind of machine gun that is this short, that is for house-to-house warfare. We're civilians. We didn't know that till years later. But Nigeria now is getting to that point where it can easily determine and sniff out its enemies as far as terrorism is concerned. You understand? So I think what we just need to do is give the support, morally, politically, and not use it as a political point.
Okay, so
for anyone.
From what you've seen going on in the Northeast now, that is commendable, isn't it?
Well, it is.
So
but we could do better.
Do you then, or what do you see, let me even rephrase it. Since you say it's good, we could do better, given what we've seen, will there be any reason whatsoever for the elections not to hold, or for people in the Northeast not to vote?
Well, that I leave to the military to decide. But from my own point of view, you understand, in the safe areas, if we have 80% safe areas and most of the displaced persons have gone back to their houses and things like that, then maybe we could have elections there, you know. But remember that Boko Haram is not, it's being funded by some heavyweights.